Hello everybody, this is Sherry at djsundry.blogspot.com, and I have a Valentine project for you today. Now, I know that by the time you see this video, it is past Valentine's Day, and you could use this any time of the year just for a little love card. I'm using it as a Valentine, and by the time this goes live, my Valentine will already have received it. I am using one of my very favorite love stacks, and I don't know if this is still available or not. I bought this around Valentine's 2013, and it's the Love Note 6x6 paper pad by Fancy Pants. And I have to tell you, I'm going to do some searching to see if I can get some more because I like it so well. I hate the fact that I'm going to run out, and this pad is in pieces, and I saved the scraps, and it's just such a fabulous vintagey feeling paper pad. I'm also using, as the core of my card, I'm going to be using a a piece of Coordinations cardstock, and it's called Juneberry. And it's a 12 by 12 inch sheet of paper that I've already cut down to 6 by 12 and scored, so that I'm actually making a 6 by 6 card, which is perfect because it's going to my Valentine. It doesn't have to go to the mail. So we're going to do some stamping to start with, and I've already done some, I've pre-cut some die cut stuff, and so we're just going to jump right into the card. Now, the first thing that I have done is I've pulled several pieces of paper from this stack, and I've already trimmed them. Again, as I mentioned, this is that Juneberry smooth cardstock from Coordinations, and I just picked this up an open stock at Joann's. I actually picked up a whole stack of these because they were on sale. They had put them on clearance, and I picked up several sheets for, I don't know, 10 or 20 cents a sheet. So I have that, and it's cut at 6 by 12 and scored at 6 to make a 6-inch card, because it is a 6-inch paper pad. This is one of the pieces of paper from that pad, and it is a 6 by 6 inch piece, and I trimmed it down just a little bit. I wanted to still have a border around it, but so I didn't really measure it. I eyeballed it and cut it by that, and this is actually going to be the inside of my card. I've cut this piece, and this is going to be on the outside of my card, and this is actually cut at 6 inches square, and actually it wasn't cut at all, it was left the full size, and it's going to cover the front of the card completely. Then I cut another piece of the Juneberry at 5 3/4 inch square, and then I trimmed down this other piece of paper from the stack down to 5 1/2 inches square. So we're going to start with our stamping. So I'm going to set everything aside except for the pieces that I'm going to be stamping. And I am using two different stamps from the K. Andrew Designs It's Valentine's set. You saw this closer to Valentine's Day when I did my original, when I showed a couple videos with that, but I wanted to use it again today. And I'm using two different stamps, and I'm going to be embossing, and so I'm going to start by using my anti-static pad to kind of wipe away from where, so that I don't have extra embossing powder sticking around. I've had that embossing pad for years and years, that anti-static pad, I'm sorry. Now this I'm going to be using, this is called Terracotta, and it's from the Arboretum Petal Point from Colorbox. Now this is a pigment ink, and because it's pigment, I can go ahead and stamp and it will take the embossing powder. So I'm going to use that, and I pulled out my Versamark pad for, I have no idea why, because I'm not using it. And so we're going to start by doing this piece that's the outside. Now it already says love there, but I wanted to stamp this stamp that says a love note. So I'm going to start with that. I'm going to ink the stamp up really well, and I know that just went off camera, but I'm going to just ink up my stamp really well with that color. Now, real quick before I do that, I want to grab a piece of scrap, and I just want to double test it before I stamp it. I should have done that before. Okay, that color I think will be okay. I just wasn't 100% positive about the color. So that'll work. And I guess I have a heart stamped, a love note for another time, don't I? Okay, so ink that up really well. And then I'm going to just stamp down in the corner here a love note. And then I have some clear embossing powder just to add a little bit of dimension to the card. That's all I'm doing. And I'll just tap that off. And we'll emboss that in a minute. I'm going to set that aside. And then on the inside here, up in this upper corner, I am going to do Happy Valentine's. And again, if you were just doing a love note, you wouldn't have to put Happy Valentine's in there. The set of stamps is perfect for just a note. Just to let somebody that you love know that you love them. I'm just going to kind of scoot this over, just stamp that down just like that. And again, we're going to emboss that with the clear powder. Now I am going to turn the video off for just a minute and do my embossing just because it's quieter, and I will be back in just a minute. Okay, so I'm back, and this is already done now, and so I need to set that aside. So now I'm going to do the next part for the inside of my card. I have these rub-ons, and they're from Reminisce, which isn't a company I'm all that familiar with. I think I picked these up at a Scrapbook Expo. It says visit us at www.designsbyreminisce.com, and they are just these hearts, and so I chose a large heart, and it's a rub-on. Now I know some people really love rub-ons, other people really do not. I like them. I like to use them. I think they're fun, and I like the touch that they add. So I'm just going to kind of center this in down here at the bottom, and then I'm just going to rub. Now this is a large rub-on, so if I would have thought of it before, I would have put some washi down maybe to hold that paper down. Rub-ons, you have to make sure that they're down really, really well, or I have had messes before. I'm hoping this will not be a mess, because if it is, I'm going to be in trouble because I don't have any more of this paper. Most rub-ons come with some sort of tool to rub the design onto your paper. And usually it's just a popsicle stick, so I tend to keep those around anyway in both larger size and smaller sizes, so you know, if I happen to lose one, it's not a big deal. If you don't have one, there's other things you could probably use. You know, I bet those little Pampered Chef things that you use to clean the Pampered Chef stoneware, those would probably work really well. Probably your little, if you have the original green Cricut little scraper for the mats, that would probably work really well. So it's, I mean, there's no, you don't have to have the popsicle stick that comes with it. Just anything that would rub it usually will work. So I've gone over it, and I've gone over it. So now I'm going to just carefully start lifting it up, and that bottom part's not on. So we'll go back over that. Sometimes you can tell because they'll kind of almost change appearance on the rub-on itself. So sometimes you can tell if you've gotten it all. Other times it's a little more difficult. So, okay. Let's see if I can pull. This one is just not rubbing off at all. It's stuck well. So I am going to turn off the camera yet again and see if I can get this to lift, and I'll be back. Okay, so I'm back, and I have never had as much trouble with a rub-on as that one gave me. In fact, completely messed up my paper. So, when all else fails and you really want to use the same paper, what do? You improvise, and that's what I did. So I pulled another strip of the red paper that I'm using for the front, and then I pulled another little piece of the paper pack, and I have this Fiskars punch, which is really a fun punch. It's called just Hearts. It's an older punch, and I punched across the top, and I made a little mat for the inside of my card. And I was trying to figure out how I could fix the problem without making it look like I had fixed the problem, and I think that this is exactly what I needed to use. It seems to work perfectly, and I cut it. I don't have actual dimensions for you because I based it on the inside of the little border that's going around there, and actually if you look closely, the border actually says XOXOXO. So that is the inside panel of my card, and I'm going to go ahead and attach that now just so that part can be done. So I'm really actually kind of glad. I kind of like this extra panel better than my original idea. So there is that panel, and I'm just going to eyeball that and try to get it as straight as I can. And there we have the inside of the card. So now we're going to go and do the outside of the card. Now I'm going to be doing some other things to the card, but I do want to get down the main pieces. So we're going to start with this piece, and because this is just my border piece, I guess you would call it, or my, my mat. And so we're going to start with that, and I want to adhere that. Woo! I want to adhere it well, but I want to adhere it correctly. And I want the frame, or the mat, to go horizontally and not diagonally. So that's why I'm choosing the houndstooth to go this way. And I'm lining it up and setting it down. And that is completely covering the entire front. Now, often I would leave a border around so that you could see the bottom piece, but I wanted to have as much of this showing as possible without cutting into my front page any more than I had to. So that's why I chose to make it the full 6x6. I really like this houndstooth paper. I just think it's a really fun sheet of paper, and I wanted to be able to show it off. And there's so many fun patterns. This particular paper pack not only had this houndstooth piece, it also had chevrons, it had heart backgrounds, it just had a lot of really fun pieces of paper. And because I'm adding so many layers to this, it's giving the feel of a nice heavy card. When you buy a card at the store, some cards are really thin and you don't pay very much for them. Other cards are really thick and you pay more for it because it has extra layers and stuff. And so this is the feeling that you get from paying for those cards with all the extra layers in it. So now we're going to move to the front of our card. We've already put this part together, and I'm just going to set that aside. I have pulled from 3 Girl Jam, I've pulled some Merlot ribbon, and then I pulled some more papers from the pack and the Art Philosophy cartridge, and I cut some hearts. I cut 3 different hearts, and I cut them, 2 of them I cut at 1.5 inches. This one I cut at this one was 1.5, I'm sorry, and these were 1.25, and they're just one of the hearts on Art Philosophy. And I'm going to arrange them. I've already backed them with foam tape, and I'm just going to kind of arrange them to give the feel of this love falling out of the tree. I am going to have hanging hearts as well. And then for my ribbon, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut pieces of this ribbon, and I'm going to have them the hearts hanging from the ribbon. So that one's going to go with that piece. Now I'm cutting extra because it can always be tucked around the back. So we'll start with this first one, and I know that I'm going to place it right about there, just like so. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my ATG, and I am just going to put a little strip right there. And that is going to be my first piece of ribbon, just like that. I'm going to come around to the back and put a strip down. You could also just grab a piece of Scotch tape or washi tape and tape across the back, but for this I'm just going to do it like that. And then my first one is going to hang right there, just like that. Then the next one is going to go, I think, right about there. Let's see. How do I want to do that? Maybe there and there. Like that. So we're going to take that. We're going to lift that piece. We're going to put just a little strip there and hang that there. And then again, come back around to the back. And I want it to be fairly taut because I don't want it loose and hanging free. And so there we have that one's going to hang from there, that one's going to hang from there, and then our last one's going to be down here, and that's the longer piece. And this one's going to be the trickier one. There we go, right about there. Because I want it to not interfere with the hearts if I can help it. Just like that. Perfect. And come around to the back. Again, another piece. And go down. Just like that. Now, I am going to use my ATG across and across. And ATG is really good about even holding down ribbon, but I am going to put some extra where the ribbon is just to help with the bulk. Help hold that down a little bit. And now that that's all nice and adhered, and oops, see, that one's already shifted. So I want to loosen that on the back. That's going to be a bit tricky. We're just keeping it real here, folks. You're going to see all of the good, the bad, and the ugly with this card, I'm afraid. There we go. There we go. That's better. And I better put a little bit more ATG down there just so it doesn't shift. Go. I'm just going to line that all up. And there we have that. Now we're ready to put our hearts. This roll of tape that I picked up, I am not sure exactly where I purchased this particular one. I think it might have been from Walmart. I think it's just a, oh, what is the brand that they used to have? My Walmart doesn't have that brand. 3M or whatever. Yeah, just Elmer's, I guess is what it is. There we go. There we go. Now, there's one last thing I wanted to do just to add a little bit of glitter and sparkle. And I'm pulling out my Stardust Jelly Roll pen. And I know this video is getting really long, so thank you for bearing with me. If you've stuck through the whole thing, you are fabulous, and I appreciate it. But what I want to do here is there's this little word that says love hanging off, and I want to add some glitter and glam to it a little bit. So I'm just going to trace it with my Jelly Roll pen. Then I'm going to trace the heart and fill it in. And the same with this heart. What I really like about these, I love my stickles, don't get me wrong, but what I really like about these pens is that they dry really super quickly. Because they're just ink pens. They're not glitter. And they also, if you're doing a project that you want to keep flat, you don't have to worry about it raising like you do on stickles or glitter. Okay, so there we have a love note, and then the inside of our card that says Happy Valentine's. So thanks so much for stopping by today, and remember, take some time to enjoy the little things. Have a great day. Bye.